Welcome to Richard Nwajei's YouTube channel, where we follow the biggest stories in the world of sport. And welcome to This Morning in Sports, where we take a look at the big sporting stories in the last 24 hours. And today is the 2nd of December 2025, the 2nd of December. So let's look at the sporting stories, top 10 or top sporting stories in the last 12 hours. All right, let's move and talk about what's happening around Barcelona. Barcelona will be ready for their game against Atletico Madrid later on this evening in the La Liga. Now that'll be a very interesting game, and many will want to say the Barcelona team who are already top of the La Liga table go against Athletic in that very interesting game. One man many will love to also see will be the man they call Yamal. Yamal is in real super fire. Some say he went quiet against when they played against Chelsea, but definitely his team, Flick's team, won their last game in the La Liga, where we saw Real Madrid drew their own game. So it'll be a very interesting game today, but of course a big clash between Barcelona and Athletic, and that's one of the biggest story, and of course the biggest match we'll watch today between the two giants in the Spanish football. Now, still around Yamal, where Yamal is speaking about the fact that he knows that the Spanish team would win the World Cup. Yamal is speaking in confidence ahead of the World Cup that will take place next year. And Yamal believes that his team, of course, the Spanish national team, are ready to prove themselves well in that particular one. So we'll see what happens if the Spanish team can win. What do you think? This Spanish team can be able to win the World Cup come next year? All right, we'll see. Oh, yeah, next year. But a few months from now, we're almost into next year. So we'll see how that happens around the very interesting Spanish team with a lot of beautiful talent. And let's talk about Bruno Fernandes, where I believe football is now becoming to, every now and then we have football games and he's complaining. His football is now more and more robotic. You lose the ball, you need to come back and win the ball. You have to play games every now and then. And this Man U star is complaining around that. Well, I say he's complaining, he's speaking around that fact that football is changing every now and then. That's from Bruno Fernandes. And let's move and talk about other sporting stories this morning, or football stories this morning. And let's talk about Yamal, back where Yamal believes that he is looking up to become play ball like Messi. All right, let's see how that happens. Many have compared Yamal with Messi. Some even believe that no, Yamal got his blessing from Messi, and some believe that this man is the future of football. Yes, and with the whole skills and everything, and some believe this guy still has a lot to offer. Some believe that he will be the big man that will show himself well and continue to prove himself. So let's see what happens around Yamal. All right, still looking at what the biggest sporting stories that is happening around the world. Football stories this morning, 2nd of December. Let's move and talk about what's happening around the man they call. Let's talk about what's happening around the Barcelona man. Hansi Flick is not sad at all. This is coming from Laporte, and Laporte believes that the man is not sad. The Barcelona chief believe everything is going on well with the club they call Barcelona. Now, if you followed up what happened in the game between, I think, Barcelona's last game, we saw how Rafinha went to console Flick, and some believe that Flick was very, very unhappy. But it's coming from the being boss. He is not. No, he is not. He is happy. He's okay. So, as a Flick is very, very fine. And from that, let's move straight and talk about what's happening around Real Madrid, where, as it stands like this right now, we're hearing the Real Madrid board are not really happy with the performance of Alonso. The club believe that he can still do more, and they're not happy. Now, when it comes to Real Madrid, losing one game for them is something big. Drawing a game for them is something big. They drew their last game, and reports were hearing that these guys are not happy with the performance of the Real Madrid team currently. So let's see how it happens. Let's see how it plays out around Real Madrid. But I believe everything is still going on fine for them. One player we're talking about is Rodrigo. Rodrigo, in the last 30 games for Real Madrid, not scoring any goal. Some believe Rodrigo would have taken that big move out of that team during the last summer transfer window, and he remembered the club, and now we can see what's happening around that particular player. As I always say, we wish him success. And from there, let's make a very, very big switch, and let's talk about what's happening around Onana. Now, where the big news came out is that Onana won't be part of the African Cup of Nations team. Onana, who we all know Onana very well now, the lovely player who plays for Cameroon national team, their goalkeeper plays in Turkish league, and he will not be part of that game. Now that's another big shocker for many people because many were expecting him to be the man to lead the Cameroon national team to the Nations Cup that will start from the 21st of December. Don't forget, we'll be at the Nations Cup to give you all the updates in Morocco. We'll be there live. Yes, we'll be there live. So get ready to get the full live details from Morocco. So that's another big story around the man they call the great player Onana, who is missing out, who will be missing out in the team that would play in the Nations Cup. And from what's happened, let's talk about Galatasaray, where Victor Osimhen returned back for his team yesterday, where Galatasaray had that game to play against Fenerbahce. The game ended 1-1. It was a 1-1 draw. Victor Osimhen played in 89 minutes in that particular game. Interesting game to watch. And, yeah, lovely game. It's always a big clash when these two Turkey giants play against themselves. As it was one of those very interesting games, again as usual, that took place yesterday in Turkey. So great one to have this man back, and is getting ready to play for Nigerian during the Nations Cup, which will start very very soon. And now the Nations Cup is we're counting down to Nations Cup. Nations Cup is going to start very soon. I think the countdown should start from now because we're in December. The Super Eagles of Nigeria, yeah, we had a jersey there. If you know in Nigeria, we are Nigerians, talk about Super Eagles sometimes. They would have these very interesting games to play against Egypt before the main Nations Cup where they will play their game. So let's see what would happen around there. Vito Osimhen is the key man to watch. Everybody is seeing what is happening around him. Now let's talk about Manchester United. Now Matheus Cunha is back in training for Manu after a recent injury. Now, that's a great news around this particular man. He is back in training, and definitely that means Manu have more power, to attack. The last game they won by 2-1, and that's a great one for Manchester United. Coming back from when they were a goal down. And no, it was 1-1 rather, and they were able to win that particular game 2-1. So it's a great one for Manchester United, showing that they are getting ready to pull things strong, and let's see what happens. Now, talk about what will happen. Let's look at some very interesting games we would have this week when we're talking about this today in the let's call it the EPL. And let's see what would happen. Maybe we could look at some of the predictions from those particular games. So we have some games, interesting games on different sides. Where we'll have Fulham playing against Manchester City today. City won their last game against Fulham, a very interesting one, win for City. Also, City were able to defeat Fulham in that very, very interesting game. No, City won their last game, not against Fulham. They're playing Fulham today, but City won their last game against Leeds by 3-2. An interesting one from the team. Now, great to see how they continue to play very good football at the City team. Maybe not consistent, but try to play good football and win games. They're playing against Fulham. Fulham won their own last game against Tottenham. Two great goals. Take that game there, 2-1 against Tottenham. The fact that the Fulham team are very, very compact. The Fulham team are doing very, very well. And Nigerian Bassi, Samuel Chukwueze, and he will be in that particular team. Talk about Samuel Chukwueze. Samuel Chukwueze won the man of the match in the last game, giving an assist in that particular game. So we'll have that interesting game between Fulham and City today. We also have Bournemouth and Everton playing today, 2nd of December. So it depends on when you see this video. 2nd of December, where Bournemouth and Everton would play that very interesting one. Now, Newcastle and Tottenham will also play today, and that will be on that very, very interesting game. We'll wait to see what would happen in that game. That's all we have on Sports This Morning with Richard Nwajei. Don't forget, in the evening, we'll look at the big stories that have happened between now and the evening. Of course, that will be done Sports This Evening with Richard Nwajei. I'm out.